Hello, this is Brent Reeves here to help you with your communications tax questions. As always, we encourage you to seek out professional advice from your communications tax consultants, attorneys, CPAs, but we're going to go over some of the basics within communications tax that we commonly get questions here at SureTax. So first and foremost, this is a follow-up to a YouTube I posted a couple weeks ago regarding service providers who have typically been in the managed services world who are now entering the communication spaces and becoming de facto communications service providers. Because of that move and that leap in their business, they are suddenly exposed to taxes at a myriad of different levels. Now, one of the responses we got from the video was, well, okay, thanks, Brent, I appreciate you letting me know that now it's my responsibility to start collecting these taxes. But what taxes are you talking about? Which ones do I have to collect? Where do I have to collect them? Who governs them? And why do we collect them? So we're going to back up a little bit and go to a more broad general sense just to talk about the different levels of taxation that you need to be concerned about and the things that you're going to run into. What I did is I put up a little graphic on the board here. And if you would just kind of factor this as, the big world, the middle world, and then the smaller world, although the smaller world sometimes becomes the most complex of everything you do. As with most of us in the United States, it seems like the federal government is in control of our biggest part of the world. So within that part of the world, you have obviously the IRS that controls a lot of your taxation implications, but also the FCC. And within the FCC, you have the Federal Universal Service Fund charge. I'm sure you've seen that inside your bill. And then the Federal Regulatory Assessment Fee as well. The FCC is managed, you may have heard the word USAC. USAC is actually a nonprofit that has been tasked with the management of the FCC and the Federal Universal Service Fund charges. So they're the ones that collect and utilize all of this money. But these taxes, again, are at the federal level that you must be compliant with. Federal level taxes are typically imposed on any interstate commerce types of transactions. So, for instance, with a VoIP service. With a VoIP service, typically you don't monitor the traffic like you might with a wireline service. So what the federal government has allowed you to do is take what they call the safe harbor rate. So you're allocating automatically a certain percentage of your revenue for a transaction and saying this is attributable to the Federal Universal Service Fund charge based on the safe harbor rate. For more information on that, please feel free to contact us or just email us some information on what that exactly means. But there again, you have the federal charges first and foremost. Then you come in and you have the state charges, and I'm sure that most of you are used to dealing with your departments of revenues at the state level. States also have a PUC. Whether or not you need to be compliant with the PUC or, let me back up, Public Utility Commission. I would assume that you know what that means, but just in case, Public Utility Commission. But not all states require a telephony to be compliant with the PUC at a separate level, meaning I believe, off the top of my head, I want to say there are 6 states that require separate registrations at the PUC level for VoIP providers, for instance, and about 18 states that require you to file separate reporting directly with your PUC, again, if you are a VoIP registrant. So that is something you have to look for. So we've got federal, then state, and then your local taxes. And the local one is the ones that get confusing and just obnoxious. At the local level, you have everything from your 911 fees. Typically, your 911 fees are attributable at the local level. You obviously have your county and city taxes, your district taxes, and then just a myriad of other taxes that could potentially fall at the local level. And that ranges anything. I think the funniest one I've seen was a football tax in Denver. And that happened to fall at a local level tax, and I guess that's the tax to pay Peyton Manning. But so that's where you find a lot of the confusing taxes and the taxes that would be impossible for you to know if I'm sitting in the state of Iowa and I'm selling a VoIP service to a customer of mine who happens to have Nexus in, let's pick a very obnoxious state, New York. How many taxes are going to fall at the local level? So there again, so if you will, think about it again as 3 different levels: local, state, and federal. Each one has to be compliant for you in order to sell telephony services. So there again, that's just a very brief understanding of the different layers and the different levels that you need to worry about being compliant with. There's a lot more obviously that goes into this, which is why again we say consult your local tax professional. Really consult your local telecom tax professional if there is one in your area, and consult a professional before you make all of your taxability policy decisions. Thanks again, and I'll give you a little bit more detail the next go around.